first-round game Saturday at Pauley Pavilion against California Baptist, champions of the Western Athletic Conference. The USC women's team got an at-large bid despite losing their last 4 games. USC is the number 9 seed in the Sacramento Regional. The Trojans play Clemson Saturday in Columbia, South Carolina. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Where you eating at?
Hi, I'm Greg Doolin, inviting you to a special celebration of Women's History Month. Join KBLA Talk 1580 for its annual symposium, The State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live from Doolin's Soul Food on Crenshaw, Friday, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., moderated by Dominique DePrima. And yes, breakfast is just $15.80. Come get fed twice. Your stomach and your mind will thank you. We'll see you Friday morning, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. at Doolin's Soul Food on Crenshaw for the State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live only on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I ever wanted was a black grand national. Being rational, give them what they ask for. It's not enough. Few solid left, but it's not enough. You better reach that, but it's not enough. Say you bigger than myself, but it's not enough. I get on their yeah, somebody gotta do it. I made them mad. Yeah, somebody gotta do it. I take the G-pad. Yeah, do it. We survived outside, all from the music. What? They like, what he on? It's the Alpha and Omega. Welcome home. This is not a song. This is a revelation. How to get a gone. Need you a man, baby. I don't understand, baby. Pay your bill and make you feel protected like I can, baby. Teach you something if you need correction. That's the plan, baby. Don't put your life in these weird hands, baby. Whoa! It's not enough. Few solid left, but it's not enough. You better reach that, but it's not enough. Say you bigger than myself, but it's not enough. I get on it. Yeah, somebody gotta do it. I made him mad. Yeah, somebody gotta do it. I take the G-pad. Yeah, watch it do it. We survived outside, all from the music. What?
Oh, yeah, somebody's got to do it, and the people doing it are in the studio with us right now. Organizers with Black Lives Matter Grassroots, Twin Cities, longtime organizers, educators. I am in awe because of the work you guys are doing out there and everything that you have had to deal with to do that work. And they just happened to be in town, so they stopped by the studio after I begged them to do so. Chauntyll Allen and Satara Strong Allen, welcome.
Thank you so much for having us here. It's so beautiful to be in California.
Yeah, it's great to have you in. Yeah. I know it's cold where y'all are from in Minnesota.
We just had a huge blizzard, so there's no school today in Minnesota.
It's a snow day.
It is a snow day. People are outside just sledding and in their shorts. I was watching on social media and messing around. It's the March snow, so it's a warm snow.
The March snow is diabolical. Yeah. Okay, diabolical. So you organizing is not new to you. You guys have been doing this both for a long time. Yeah. Tell me about how you plugged into being an activist.
So I've always been really community centered. My dad worked 20 years in the St. Paul Urban League, and so I kind of grew up amongst that environment. But I went to a school, St. Paul Central, which is a very strong black high school in St. Paul, Minnesota. It's in the Rondo community. Rondo was just enfranchised by the freeway back in the day. And so a lot of the educators had kind of grown up in that space of fighting for liberation for our people. And they started to educate me. And so when I got out of high school, they kind of stuck me right into education. I started working in special ed. And I started to see our young children being disenfranchised. I didn't like it, so I left the school system thinking I can go do something better. Ended up in child protection, which was even worse.
Even more terrible, yeah. Wow.
And so that was when I really just said, I'm going to start to make a difference with individual youth that I was working with, young people, but also start to make a difference around policies and the way that they had us interacting with our people and disenfranchising them, and really being an advocate in these spaces. When that didn't work out so well, because trying to be an advocate in child protection, child protection is just another arm of slavery.
Wow.
And a lot of people don't recognize this, but when they began to do convict leasing back during the Reconstruction times, if they found you to be, looking at a white person in the eyes, or on the sidewalks, or whatever it was, that there were black codes that were in effect, and they put you in the jail to be sold off to a slave owner, they sent the children back to the original plantation where the parents were freed from, and they remained there till they were 18. And I've seen a lot of similarities to the history of our people and what was happening with a lot of people that were migrating from Chicago, and the way the system was just grabbing their kids and keeping them.
That's crazy. I have a friend that went through something recently that what you just said kind of gave me chills. The way, the children are snatched out of families, out of black families, stopped from being adopted or fostered by black families. And you wanted to talk a little bit about how you came into activism, Satara?
That's exactly how I came into activism. So I started working at this shelter that was in Minneapolis, and the director of the shelter is just more focused on money and capitalism than she was the care for the kids. And so when I saw that, I just have always had a heart for young people, and figured young people shouldn't, on top of being separated from their families, be treated in such a low way. I mean, there just was no care for them. The meds that they give them in the shelter, right? Hopping them up on all these drugs, and then when they turn 18 and they become a ward of the state, they're used to that. Your brain gets used to those chemicals and things like that. So watching the way that the kids would literally be, zombies, or not being able to get snacks. These are little kids, 2 to 12 years old, not being able to get snacks after dinner kind of thing. They're growing, just the conditions of the shelter were really, really bad. And so that encouraged me to advocate for kids, use whatever I could to make sure that they were good. And then it just went from there. I moved on to a public charter school after that. And there was this young lady who came in. It was a school for girls, and she was talking about how her dad had been murdered by the police. And this was some years later. It was winter time. She had sat out in the cold and gone through this whole ordeal, and everybody was ignoring her. And I was like, y'all don't see this girl? Y'all didn't hear what she said? And turns out her dad was Philip Quinn, who was one of the people we ended up fighting for in the Twin Cities. And that kind of catapulted me into being involved with young people in the movement.
And who would have, if I would be guessing what would cause this country to hit the streets in 2020, I wouldn't have guessed the epicenter would be Minnesota, right? I always think LA because they're always shooting people here. Yeah. But you kind of were at the vortex of what was happening around the George Floyd protests. There were others that were killed that year. They could be Breonna Taylor protests. They could be, lots of, Ahmaud Arbery. Yeah. But that really pushed you guys even more into action, right?
Yeah. When Trayvon Martin got murdered, we started to activate just like the rest of the nation. There was rallies and things that were happening, and that gave us the opportunity to encounter the people that we knew in community that cared. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, well, wait a minute. What are we doing here in the state of Minnesota, right? How are we starting to push this issue forward? Because we knew we had police murders, and we knew Terrence Franklin and Tysel Nelson had been murdered by the police. And although it was in that era of, let's just make up something that they did and sweep it under the rug, those of us that are in community, we always knew that our people were being targeted and murdered. And so no matter what story they painted, we were blowing that off like, wait a minute, what are we going to do about this, right? So when Trayvon Martin happened, we all took to the streets. Black Lives Matter started to form in Minnesota. There was a Black Lives Matter Minneapolis group that started to form and do rallies on a regular basis. Monique Cullors Doherty lost her nephew, Marcus Golden, to police brutality in St. Paul in 2015, and that's what really pulled all of the St. Paul people to the table and said, hey, we have an issue over here in St. Paul also. In 2015, Jamar Clark was murdered, and we occupied the police station for 18 days in North Minneapolis. And that gave an opportunity for a lot of people who were fighting for liberation in a lot of different spaces to all come together and say, hey, we want to really address this police accountability issue. And so folks started to form organizations. We started to form coalitions. And the following year after that, Philando Castile was murdered. And so then we occupied the governor's mansion for 21 days, right? And so in these occupations, we build relationships. We form new organizations, new people come to the fold, and we continue to build and build and build. In between there, other people were being murdered. Cordell Handy. There was just a lot of different folks that were continuing to be murdered, and we were addressing the issue along the way. And when George Floyd happened, it just was in the moment of the pandemic, where people were sitting with a lot of uncertainty. We had done a lot of education around police accountability throughout the Twin Cities. And so people just naturally mobilized to the streets. I remember waking up the next morning going, okay, we're going to go outside. This is new because we were in the pandemic. And when we went outside, just driving around and seeing people that I knew that weren't necessarily part of the Black Lives Matter membership, but they were mobilizing on different corners all throughout the city because they had learned from us. They knew what they needed to do, and they wanted to step into leadership. And that's what made the epicenter kind of explode in that moment, was that there was so many people all over the cities who wanted to step into leadership and get the work done. And so it's been a beautiful thing. George Floyd Square happened organically. The people from the community showed up after he was murdered, and nobody left.
Nobody left. Well, and I think it's also really key what you said, that the groundwork that had been done before, because for other people it's like, Minnesota, what? But because you had been there as a chapter, because you had been part of that initial wave of Black Lives Matter chapters that sprung up all over the country, there's a network of people that know how to organize, right? So that means that when the masses run into the streets, there's structure around it, right?
Right, exactly. And that's exactly what happened. And me being an educator, of course, I was doing this in the classrooms, in rec centers, and having these conversations with young people. And so young people just began to lead. I found that during the George Floyd era, my position changed. I became an individual who was there to provide goggles and helmets and all of the safety equipment to provide wisdom around how we can get things done. I wasn't necessarily on the front line with a megaphone anymore. And that to me showed me that we were truly in a movement, because I went from being the megaphone guy to now here I am supporting the megaphone people, right? And that shows true movement. And that's one of the things that I keep trying to reiterate to the thousands and thousands of people that came into the fold during George Floyd. This was not a moment. This is a movement. And so find your thing and continue to do it until we have liberation.
And it's a movement that was already in motion, that had a track record and some science behind it. I think that's what people sometimes miss. The science of organizing, the discipline of organizing. So I think it's interesting and important for folks to remember that it's just not in your city, that people are organizing. You guys are working with and in community with folks from other chapters and other organizations in other cities and within your own, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we're part of the Black Lives Matter Grassroots National Coalition organization, and so we're connected to the 51 chapters with the LA chapter also, as the LA chapter leads us in that direction, right? And so we're connected with those, along with a lot of other organizers in Jackson, Mississippi, and D.C., different places that I've just made connections with and recognized that all of our liberation is connected to one another, and the way that we're going to get there is working together. And so, I mean, it's definitely more than just in our city.
We do have a lot to talk about. We want to talk about this Target boycott because, you know quite a lot about that.
Yeah.
As one of the original organizers, I want to talk about the scary situation with with Miss Pam Bondi coming for y'all, and how you guys are enduring that situation to the extent that you're able to talk about it. All that is coming up on KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks for starting your morning off with a voice that speaks truth to power and the powerless, getting to the heart of what matters most in our community. This is where authentic conversation meets real action. From breaking news and politics to culture and community solutions, this is where you hear perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. This is where we come together, get informed, and make change happen. You're inside First Things First with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Good morning, sunshine. You make my day. All the women who independent, throw your hands up at me.
This March, we're turning up the volume on the women who changed everything. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to celebrate Women's History Month, honoring the trailblazers, truth tellers, and game changers who shaped our world, our culture, and our community. From the freedom fighters to the firsts, from the boardroom to the front lines, from the unsung to the unforgettable. All month long, we're celebrating the stories, the voices, and the conversations that remind us that women, Black women, have always led the way. Don't miss a moment. This is our moment. This is our story. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580, Los Angeles' home for the conversations that matter.
I'm your girl, you're my girl, we're your girls. We want you to know that we love you.
My son loves to fly kites, but my active psoriatic arthritis can sometimes hold me back. Now with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready to go. Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults, helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
He's the son of a school teacher and Navy veteran who built a company worth billions and walked away from it. Tom Steyer, pledging to give away half of everything he earned to charity and fight for Californians. So when out-of-state corporations weren't paying their fair share of taxes, Tom Steyer led the fight for Prop 39 and won, earning California billions of dollars for our schools. Tom took on big oil to stop them polluting our air and water and smash them. Tom fought for free school lunches so no child goes hungry. Tom Steyer, strong enough to take on the special interests crushing us with the cost of living. As governor, Tom will stop Wall Street from buying up middle-class homes, lower utility rates by 25%, and ban corporate PAC money from our politics. Other politicians talk. Tom Steyer gets it done. Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, that's part of what we were talking about. Chauntyll, Allen, and Satara Strong Allen are here. They are with Black Lives Matter Grassroots Minnesota, Twin Cities, right?
Twin Cities,
Cities, yeah, but longtime organizers. And you were sharing a video with me during News, Traffic, and Sports about this whole whistleblowing thing that's happening in Minnesota, and the fact that for some there was a debate about whether this is really black people's fight when it comes to ICE detaining people. Here in Los Angeles, we have Keith Porter, who was murdered by an off-duty federal agent, ICE agent, who lived in the same apartment building and just killed him. But this whistleblowing campaign has been something that everyone in community is being encouraged to participate in. Explain what that is and how it works.
Yeah, this is something we picked up from Chicago. They was out there doing this. And basically, everybody in the Twin Cities has this whistle. We slowly started to get them out to everybody, and even the 3D printer people are printing them in mass amounts and getting these whistles out to everybody. The key is that when anybody sees ICE, you just automatically start blowing your whistle at a repetitious, boop, 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 boop. So people are alerted that ICE is in the area. And what happens is now, because everybody has whistles, that you hear the whistle outside, and so you grab your whistle and you go outside too. You start legal observing. And so the whistle is tied to legal observer training. And so we have these legal observer trainings that are happening in churches all over the Twin Cities in massive amounts. I mean, when you see those massive people out in the streets, that's because all of those people have gone to legal observer training hundreds at a time all over the Twin Cities. And so they come outside, they're legal observing, and they're blowing the whistle to let everybody on the block know ICE is here. If you're an immigrant, whether you're legal or illegal at this point in the state of Minnesota, get yourself into a safe place, because they don't really care about whether you're legal or illegal.
That's right.
If you are brown or black, or you look like you might be illegal, if you have an accent, they're grabbing you up and they're taking you to the Whipple building, which is the federal holding space, and then you have to prove your citizenship. And that's the way that they're moving in the city of Twin Cities right now. They even have checkpoints set up on the freeways sometimes, where
that's crazy.
They're stopping
it's
every
like
single car.
But now you say right now, and a lot of us have been told, well, the surge is over, so that news story is gone.
Go ahead.
They're trying to work with the state troopers right now. They've been negotiating, quote unquote, right, to be involved in the jails and the prisons, to have ICE presence there. And so we're thinking about, so they're not going to go, they're just changing their tactic. And who's incarcerated? Right? Yeah. Still black and brown people heavily, so it's just another tactic to continue that surge.
Yeah. And I mean, some of them have left the state of Minnesota, but they're still out there. They've changed their how they move. They're more undercover now. I've been getting tips about older white ladies who are walking dogs, people disguised as FedEx workers, and they're really ICE agents. They're moving different, but we know that they're there. We see the cars everywhere. We see them walking around everywhere because they're pretty obvious, even if they're not in uniform. Like, I was at the mall and in the JCPenney's, and I'm like, wow, there's like 3 ICE agents in this section with me, dressed in regular clothes, but they're all right there in our spaces. And so it feels like it's calming down a little bit, but if you're connected to any of the signal groups that are responding, the legal observers, they would say, no, it's not. It's still in full force.
It's crazy. What is exactly a legal observer? A lot of people heard about that for the first time when Renee Good was murdered.
Yeah. So the legal observers, they go to a training to understand their constitutional rights and what they can and cannot do. And the goal is to really observe the ICE agent as they're capturing somebody. You don't want to put the camera on the individual that's being captured. You do want to get the individual's name so that you can submit it to the ACLU, or we have a few different databases that you can submit it to so that they can immediately get some kind of legal support and also be connected back to their family, because a lot of these people were just being snatched out of their cars. The cars were being just left on the side of the road.
That's crazy.
Right. We had to
Just
mobilize
abandoning the car.
tow
and leaving
trucks.
One of the cars got into an accident or something, I think, because they snatched somebody out of it and it was just still rolling.
It was still, they snatched them out and the car was still in drive and it just rolled down the hill and crashed. And they just left it there. And so now there's tow truck people that are going around and making sure that cars are getting back to the owners' families. We have carpenters that are mobilized because there's so many doors being kicked in that carpenters are coming out to help to repair people's doors. And there, it's, it's brutal. It's not, hey, we have a warrant for your arrest, or we need to see your paperwork. They're snatching people out of cars. We saw a 16-year-old boy was on his way to work. He was a Somali kid, and he's legal. But as he was going, the ICE agents just started running up on him. He tried to run into his place of work, and they grabbed him, and he's telling them, I'm legal. I want to show you my ID. They said, we don't care about that. Threw him in the back of the car. The owner of the restaurant that he worked in came out with his paperwork because he's his employer. So he had his paperwork saying, this is a legal citizen, putting it on the front of the car. The ICE agents just drove off, took him to Whipple.
Wow, that is quite scary. And concerning this idea of whether or not this question applies to black folks, black Americans, we saw in Chicago, I think a lot of people were swayed by that, watching those agents rappel down buildings when they could have just walked up, and snatching all those black folks, putting them on the curbs, putting them with those zip ties and leaving them out there, smashing people's doors, breaking up their apartments. We only have a minute here before news, traffic, and sports, but we'll continue on the other side. But you guys have personally both at different times experienced being taken into custody.
Yeah. So we were involved in the City's Church protest in St. Paul. City's Church is a Christian nationalist church who had a pastor that was the director of ICE in the Twin Cities, David Easterwood. And he was a pastor at the church. And previously, the week before that, I'm on the school board in St. Paul, and we had thousands of kids walk out of school because of their fear from all of the terror that we were experiencing in our city. We even had a group of kids that walked 8 miles, and it was like 2 or 3 degrees outside. We're talking freezing weather. And so that was motivation for me to go and, educate the people about the issues that we're dealing with, because it's like, how can you have somebody who's committing this level of terror in our city and he's standing in your pulpit preaching to you about righteousness? And so that was our biggest concern in that moment, thinking about our children and what they were dealing with. We had the 4-year-old who was taken,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that. What happened to you? Where we are with that now, and of course, Target. Can't wait to hear what you have to say about that, because some people are confused, not sure why, but that's coming up next on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominic DePrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Local lawmakers are demanding answers after reports that 9/11 health program workers are being reassigned to ICE. Senator Chuck Schumer calls it a disgrace.
It would be bad enough if they just reduced the number, but to put them into ICE is a double whammy.
Homeland Security denies any 9/11 workers were moved to ICE. A white woman in Frisco, Texas was caught on video threatening to shoot a black mother and 2 12-year-old girls filming a TikTok video at a public park after using a racial slur. The woman, Ashton Best, has since been fired from her job, but no arrests were made. The family is now raising money for a civil lawsuit. And Sean Diddy Combs is appealing his 50-month sentence, arguing he's being punished for charges on which he was acquitted. His lawyers call the sentence a perversion of justice, saying it's far harsher than typical Mann Act cases. Appeal arguments begin April 9th. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Visit Hard Rock Casino Tejon for the $500,000 Luck of the Irish BMW drawing. drawings every Thursday in March. Hard Rock Casino Tejon, the closest casino to downtown LA. The excitement starts here at the new Hard Rock Casino Tejon.
Is this the This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Five straight wins for the Lakers has moved them up to third place in the Western Conference with 15 games left in the regular season. The Lakers are at Houston tonight. The Clippers are at home tonight against San Antonio. No word yet on Kawhi Leonard's status. He sprained his ankle in Saturday's loss to Sacramento. The UCLA women's basketball team joins undefeated UConn, Texas, and South Carolina as the top 4 seeds in the NCAA tournament. UCLA is the number 1 seed in the Sacramento Regional. The Bruins have a first-round game Saturday at Pauley Pavilion against California Baptist, champions of the Western Athletic Conference. The USC women's team got an at-large bid despite losing their last 4 games. USC is the number 9 seed in the Sacramento Regional. The Trojans play Clemson Saturday in Columbia, South Carolina. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
They say time flies when you're having fun. The founding members cohort of the Art of Conversation is almost over. Hard to believe. It's been a joy sharing what I've discovered after nearly 40 years of conversations with presidents, cultural icons, and game changers in every field of human endeavor. If you missed the first cohort, the good news is that we're already planning the next one. Now, the seats will be limited, and those on our waiting list will receive exclusive early access and special discounts not available to the general public. So, if you are ready to transform the way you connect, lead, and build trust, do not hesitate. Go to TavishTalks.com and join the waiting list today. That's TavishTalks.com. The next cohort is coming. Make sure you are in the room. I'm Tavish Smiley, and I hope to see you there.
You are the architect of your own legacy, but you don't have to build it alone. I'm Lisanne Basquiat, a board-certified NLP expert and legacy healing strategist. I've built the Shaping Freedom platform to give you the exact tools you need to evolve. From my signature podcast and Lounging with Lisanne meditations to our intentional candles and journals. Stop living on autopilot. Visit shapingfreedom.com to access the teachings and tools you deserve for you and your family. Your evolution begins at shapingfreedom.com.
Breathe easier with the South Coast Air Quality Management District mobile app. Get real-time air quality updates, forecasts, and alerts when air quality is poor right on your phone. It's free and easy to use. Just search South Coast AQMD and download today. What's your air quality?
Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima, KBLA Talk 1580 host and African Focus Incorporated Cultural Ambassador. You probably know by now that every year our 2 organizations team up to lead a trip to the motherland. This June will be our 8th African Focus Trailblazers Tour, and it's not too late to join us. But if you've been thinking of going with us, now is the time to sign on before prices go up. Our current deadline is March 20th. Join us as we travel to a country widely considered one of Africa's most underrated destinations, Zambia, home to the towering Victoria Falls and the bustling capital city, Lusaka. Enjoy a visit to Botswana, known for its pristine natural beauty and stunning southern African wildlife. We travel in comfort with luxury accommodations, a variety of fun activities, and delicious dining. We do service with charitable work at a school and an orphanage, and we expand our horizons with cultural and historical excursions. To sign up now before our March 20th deadline, please call African Focus Incorporated at 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300. Or check out africanfocus.org. Whether it's in the community or traveling the globe, we move as family. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Let's go.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth. Hello, Joe, you're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
Chauntyll, Alan, and Satara Strong. Alan are with me in studio. They are married, but they are also activists in community with one another. And we were talking about what led up to this situation where the United States Attorney General decided to arrest you and arrest you, but not at the same time, right?
Right.
So the church protest happened. I didn't know before that it was illegal, supposedly, to protest in a church. I never heard that before.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that either. And there are some particulars that have to happen in order for it to be illegal. So just being in a church and calling out an individual is not the illegal part. And so I just want to be clear about that.
Yeah,
so we're being charged with something that I feel like we didn't do. We're being politically persecuted in the moment. And it actually brings me all the way back to, Trump's first term when he kept calling out protesters, or even when he first got elected. Remember when he swore in the next day, he put BLM on the national terrorist list.
Yeah.
And those type of things. And I feel like he felt like, anybody who was going opposite of white supremacy was his enemy.
Well, I mean, the crazy thing to me is that when this was reported on, of course, Don Lemon is famous, so they focus on Don Lemon.
Yeah.
And they focus on Georgia Fort because she's also a journalist. So then it was like, oh, all these journalists got arrested. But you're not a journalist.
Yeah.
You're an activist. And everyone else, from what I track, everyone else that was arrested in connection with that were activists with Black Lives Matter Grassroots.
Yeah. There were a lot of different activists. There were some allies. There were some people that we didn't quite know, but they showed up to the action. There was another journalist, Brixton Hughes, who is a white journalist, who was also arrested. But yes, Traherne Cruz, who is one of the BLM grassroots organizers, and also Monique Cullors Doherty, who is a BLM grassroots organizer. And then Dr. Nakima Levy Armstrong, who was arrested with me originally, is the executive director of the Racial Justice Network, and she was formerly the NAACP president while Jamar Clark was happening and Philando Castile. She was a previous law professor at a prestigious college and carries a lot of weight.
And I understand a former Black Lives Matter Grassroots organizer as well. So
yeah, she's organized with Black Lives Matter since the beginning of Black Lives Matter, so she's been around.
So yeah, when you bring up Trump, I felt that there was definitely targeting there that kind of went under the radar of the mainstream media. So they came and arrested you.
Yeah. And it started where, they made the announcement that there were going to be some arrests. And so we got some legal advice. We had a lawyer. Nakima was in communication with the lawyer while they were trying to find where our warrants were at. They couldn't find them. They went all the way to the Justice Department even looking for our warrants. There was no warrants to be found. We were really concerned about the violence that could happen in the midst of our arrests. And so we checked ourselves into a hotel that was close to the federal building so that we could go turn ourselves in the morning. And when Nakima was identified to have a warrant, we got on the phone with the lawyer. The lawyer talked to the Justice Department. They said, fine, she can turn herself in at 8 o'clock. They said, we don't have a warrant for Chauntyll Allen. We don't have a warrant for Satara Strong Allen. And so we were like, cool, she'll turn herself in at 8. In the meantime, Satara was walking in the hallway of the hotel and was
assaulted. They believed, I think at the time, believed me to be Reverend Dr. Nakima Levy Armstrong. And so they came and assaulted me from behind. It was probably about 6 agents at least, and I was just walking in the hallway trying to it was very scary. When I go back and think about it, I'm like, oh, this is how they took people. How they say they took people in the middle of the night, or like Emmett Till, they came and they took him in the middle of the night. This is the type of thing that they were doing. And they assaulted me from behind, took me down to the Whipple building, and I suffered some injuries. I had a concussion and some nerve damage in my hands, type of thing.
Terrifying.
Yeah, very, very. But I went down to the Whipple building, and once they were able to, I didn't have any ID on me, right? So I thankfully memorized my ID situation and was able to give them that information. And even though they cleared me and said, hey, you're going to be released, they still took my fingerprints, still took pictures and that kind of thing. So there were some violations in there of, they never read me my rights. They didn't show me a warrant until after they had put cuffs on me and kind of shoved me in the car. And I constantly repeated, hey, I need to see a judicial warrant. I don't believe you have a warrant for my arrest. And even when they showed me the quote unquote judicial warrant they had, wasn't my name on it. And they still took me to Whipple.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the next morning, someone from the Justice Department called Nakima's lawyer and said, no, we want to apprehend her. We're not gonna give you time to turn her in. And this was probably at about 6:30 in the morning. They called to let this be known. And so at about 7:15, 7:20, they came to the hotel room. We knew that they were coming. The lawyers were all there at that point. We opened up the door, and Nakima was basically apprehended. As you could see, there's been videos out of her being apprehended. The Justice Department created an AI version of that apprehension.
Which is crazy, where it looked like they tried to make it look like she was crying.
Yeah.
When she clearly wasn't crying when you see the video.
Yeah. And so, I was there. They just said I didn't have a warrant, so I'm just making sure that she's gathering all her things and that her husband is getting her stuff. And they approached me and said, are you Chauntyll Allen? And I said, yeah. They said, you're under arrest too. And so they took me also. We ended up ultimately at the St. Paul Federal Building. They didn't know where we were supposed to go. First, they took us to the Minneapolis City Hall. They sat outside there for a while, realizing that was a city hall and not a federal building. Asked around to some other ICE agents that were just gathered in the area, because we were literally under occupation. Like sitting in front of City Hall, there was just ICE agents everywhere that they could pull up on and ask, where am I supposed to take Alan to? And they ultimately found out I was supposed to be at the St. Paul Federal Building. They didn't know where that was, so I directed them.
That's crazy.
And as we got into St. Paul, they pulled up at the St. Paul City Hall. So they were back at the other city. I said, you got to go 3 more blocks up to the federal
first,
building.
Right?
Exactly. And so we ended up at the federal building. We went to court that day, and the magistrate that was there granted the federal prosecutors an hour stay so that they could gather their information, because they wanted to keep us. And he granted them an hour stay. And within that hour, they locked the doors of the federal building and wouldn't let our lawyers back in the building.
Wow.
And
that sounds so illegal.
Yeah. So they shipped me and Nakima off to Sherburne County Jail, where we were at. Our lawyers met us there and was like, yeah, we don't know what happened. They locked us out of the courthouse, so we couldn't even get back in. But we'll be there first thing in the morning. And first thing in the morning, they were there. They read the information from the prosecutors. They submitted the information to the judge, and immediately the judge released us, because even the judge was saying there was no reason to keep folks here. Like, this is a peaceful protest. He didn't say peaceful protest, but he could see from the videos. It was a peaceful protest. We weren't trying to cause anybody any harm, and we wouldn't cause any harm to the greater community. And so to try to keep us in jail was just absurd. And so they released us that day. I can say, though, that it was heavy for me.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, before all of this happened, I had a school board meeting that day, and our administration called me early in the morning and said, hey, have you been checking your email? And I was like, no, I haven't checked it yet today. And they said, well, everybody is being flooded with all of these death threats. The entire board, our superintendent, there were schools that were being threatened.
Based on the protest?
Based on the protest. They wanted to unseat me. But they also had a lot of, you're going to swing, you're going to hang, they were sending real death threats. And so they had really beefed up security and asked me to have my own security at the school board meeting that night. And so to kind of walk into this situation and then also be getting all of these threats. It felt like back in the civil rights days, I literally had my phone ringing off the chain, and when I answered it, it was evil voices that were saying really evil things. And I was like, I thought this was only in movies, right?
Yeah. But
it was very real. And so one of the things about the church is that it is a white Christian nationalist church. It is part of the Southern Baptist Evangelical sect.
The CREC.
Yeah. And this is the group, they practice white supremacy. They have a sister church in Washington, D.C. that Peter Hegseth goes to. And it is very much tied to the administration. And so we were not there to interrupt Christianity. As a matter of fact, I am a Christian. My mom is an ordained pastor. Reverend Dr. Nakima Levy Armstrong is a reverend. My wife grew up in the Kojic Church. Most of the people that are there that showed up that day are Christians. What we were there to interrupt was white supremacy. And that's when this became very dangerous for us.
Mm-hmm. I know you probably can't talk too much, but where are you in the process of this? Do you still start? Do you have charges or residual stuff? And
yes.
What about you?
So I was rearrested recently because it's 39 people that are part of this indictment, right? How ridiculous. And yeah, we have court cases, court dates coming up, arraignments and the like. But yeah, it's been interesting, the power of community is so strong, right? Getting arrested the second time was way different than the first. They arrested over 20 plus people at the same time. And think about the resources. I kind of want to talk about that. The resources, how much money, how much taxpayer dollar this is taking to pull up on 20 plus people in the middle of the night. I mean, it was at least 5 cars per person's house with several agents in each car, right? So when you think about the money that it takes to have all these cars, all these agents, all this, and then you think about the contrast and talking about the quote-unquote fraud that the Somali community committed in Minnesota, and you're distributing all these dollars to take illegal measures to lock up U.S. citizens is crazy to me. But yeah, that's what we're dealing with.
So you've been arrested twice by
I've been
federal
arrested twice.
Agents, yeah. That's terrible. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm sure they're trying to drain your funds, drain your time, drain your energy. Do you guys have a GoFundMe, like a legal fund that people can contribute to?
We do. We have a GoFundMe. I don't know the exact.
We'll figure it out. And
yes.
We'll let you know what that is when we come forward, how you can support these women. And, out there fighting against white supremacy, fighting for Black life, and being punished for doing so. I think it's important we stand with folks like that, whether it's $1 or $1 million that you got, to help defray. Because I think one of the reasons they do it is to drain the resources from people who are doing the work, drain the time, drain the money, drain the energy, so that they can stop working on our behalf. Mm-hmm. I promise we'll get to the Target controversy, and we'll get this GoFundMe when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Warning, evacuation in progress. Leave the building.
It's a total takeover.
That's what I want.
On Friday, March 27th, KBLA Talk 1580 belongs to the women.
Are you ready?
All day long, from 6 in the morning to midnight, the mic belongs to powerful, accomplished women, and we are not letting go. Nothing but the voices of women who inspire, challenge, and move us forward. It's the women of KBLA Talk 1580, sun up to sundown. I'm Dominique DePrima, and I'll anchor the day with a 3-hour live panel from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on the state of Black women in LA, followed by women talking to women all day long about the issues that matter most. Our hosts for the day include Jill Monroe, Adrian Shropshire, Dr. Melina Abdullah, Angela Reddick Wright, Raquel Graham, Angelique Francis, Tasha Thomas, Dr. Shalonda Crawford, Dion Raymond, and featuring special guest hosts Santita Jackson and Amanda Seals. This is Women's History Month, and we're not just celebrating it, we're amplifying it. Join us Friday, March 27th on KBLA Talk 1580, where women take over all day, all night. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 and all of our socials for the rundown. You don't want to miss a single word. And happy Women's History Month from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
To my ladies,
I'll show you
how to work that.
You are the bomb.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is connecting you with services and solutions. Domestic violence and family violence is when someone in an intimate or family relationship tries to gain or maintain power and control over another through a wide range of abusive behaviors. Every single act may amount to abuse. Abuse can take on various forms: psychological and emotional, physical and economic, and sexual abuse. The Genesee Center Incorporated is a nationally recognized nonprofit domestic violence prevention and intervention organization, housing women and children from 30 days up to 2 years through emergency and transitional shelters. The Genesee Center also provides support services like mental health counseling, life skills classes, computer training, job referrals, after-school programs for children, field trips, tutoring, and comprehensive direct legal services. If you need help or you'd like to donate or volunteer, call the Genesee Hotline, 1-800-479-7328. That's 1-800-479-7328, or visit genesee.org. Everyone has the right to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The conversation continues right now with Dominic DePrima on First Things First.
Okay, I don't know what I did with all our time, so I'm going to have to just quickly ask you about the GoFundMe, how people can support your legal defense. I think that's really important. And also, we got to talk about Target, because you are one of the original people that called for that boycott before Pastor Bryant even did his 40-day fast. Do we have the GoFundMe?
Yes.
Okay.
So the GoFundMe, it's titled Helps Chauntyll and Satara Recover and Stay Safe. If you look on the GoFundMe and...
Help Chauntyll and Satara recover and stay safe. And Chauntyll is Chauntyll, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Helps. Okay. That's great. Now, give me the Cliff's Notes version of what happened with Target.
Right. So, I mean, they rolled back their DEI, and the headquarters is in Twin Cities. And so Dr. Nakima hit us all up and said, we're doing a press conference. We're going to call a boycott on Target. Well, I'm not a big Target fan anyway because of racial profiling and some of the other things that have happened over the years in Target. And so I was like, let's do it. Let's get them. And so we called the boycott. It was January 28th. We had a press conference and called the boycott. It was indefinite. It was because of the rollback on the $100 million that the Target had promised us after the George Floyd uprising. Also, the rollback of the DEI within their company. And then also the racial profiling that we had experienced just throughout the Twin Cities, and specifically an individual who is wrongfully convicted and sitting in prison right now. My wife is good with names. You have his name? We should have looked it up. But an individual that is sitting in prison right now because of some footage that Target released that, just wasn't justified. And
so the boycott starts January 28th, open-ended boycott. I think it's a couple months later.
It's like a month later.
A month later, Jamal Bryant does a 40-day fast.
Yeah.
But that 40 days has long since passed.
Yeah.
And so it seemed like he joined in your boycott.
Yeah. Yeah, and we were all, organizers, and somebody else that's a national organizer with us pulled in Jamal Bryant and Tamika Mallory and Nina Turner into a meeting with Dr. Nakima Levy-Armstrong to talk about the boycott. But this was after we had already announced the boycott, right?
Right.
And so Nakima was okay with them doing the fast because we're organizers. So we're okay with people organizing. If you believe in this issue, go organize. Continue to amplify it, uplift it, and let's get to work. I think what really got confusing was when Reverend Jamal Bryant and people like Al Sharpton started to sit down with Target and negotiate. And, our goal was not necessarily to get a particular check cut to any particular organization or people. What we wanted was the doors to be open for Black people to thrive.
Right. Those people that were on the Target shelves, supposedly because of DEI, to come back to that commitment, to come back to the commitment of dollars. So when none of that has happened yet, Pastor Bryant announced the end of the boycott, but none of you guys agreed to that.
No, we didn't. And so he announced that the boycott was at the end, and we're all like, wait, what? We didn't call the end to the boycott. This is indefinite. This is we're not new to this. We're actually the same organizers that called the boycott on Joe's Crab Shack because we found the lynching picture on the table. And several Joe's Crab Shacks have shut down across the nation because of that. And so we're not giving in until we get what we want, right? I still don't eat at Joe's Crab Shack. I don't care what city I'm in.
Well, and so, we're at the end of the show, unfortunately, but Pastor Bryant did end up apologizing for that.
Yeah. I think when the entire Black community starts to come down on your head through memes and jokes and everything else, you have to come forward and say, you know what, I was wrong.
Yeah.
And he made an attempt to apologize. He's still, to me, it seemed like it was halfway. Yeah. It didn't feel like he really was bringing the respect to Reverend Dr. Nakima Levy-Armstrong that she deserved in the organizing that she's been doing around this work. And I'm not even mad at her response on Roland Martin.
Yeah, she came hard. Well, I could talk to you guys for another hour, but it's time to pass the microphone to Tavis Smiley, Chauntyll Allen, and Satara Strong Allen. Thank you so much for coming in, sharing your story, and all the great work you're doing.
We'll be happy to come back again.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Tavis Smiley is up next. Until tomorrow, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Local lawmakers are demanding answers after reports that 9/11 health program workers are being reassigned to ICE. Senator Chuck Schumer calls it a disgrace.
It would be bad enough if they just reduced the number, but to put them into ICE is a double